At the end of the day, your identity has to match your dream or it'll never be realized. So for me, a lot of people have dreams that are far beyond their current identity. And so because of that, you almost will never have it until you learn to shift into that identity.
Boom, 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 boom. What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast with your boys, Matt Wolf and Joe Fier. Check it. Hey, welcome back.
We are here and we're ready to roll. Are you ready?
I'm ready, and I know you have to pee, so let's make this intro quick.
Today we have our friend, our return guest,
Yes,
and a VIP in all walks of life. You know why? Because he's just a badass. His name is Anthony Trucks.
He was in the NFL,
Well,
American Ninja Warrior.
How about let's go back.
Oregon Ducks. Okay, go ahead.
Oregon Ducks, yes. Yeah, college football star. Mm-hmm. The dude came from foster care as well, which is gnarly. And, you know, that's tough times, man. Like most people go to 70%, I think is what his stat was, and I'm pretty familiar with this too, is like 70% of the inmates you see in prison are from foster care. Yeah. So there's a lot of crap that he's worked through, and it's wild. Yeah, he became a freaking a star at the Ducks, Oregon, and then an NFL player for what he said 3 years. Mm-hmm. And you'll hear his story, but it's insane. But what he's going to talk about is this book that he has out now.
I don't know. I was about to hold it up, but we're not recording video for this intro.
I'm so used to it, but it's called Identity Shift, and that's Anthony Trucks, and he's hooking you up. It's actually getting released on the 24th, and don't worry, we're not just going to be like pitchy book pitch. Anthony is a freaking awesome dude. You're going to love this episode, but shout out to the book. It releases on the 24th of August, and you want to get that at identityshiftbook.com. That's identityshiftbook.com, and also use code word HAF for Hustle and Flowchart.
Yes.
HAF, that's going to hook you up with like a crazy bonus package. I don't even remember, but they're like workbooks, audiobooks, and some other stuff, I think, too.
Definitely go get it through that link.
IdentityShiftBook.com.
Yeah, in this episode, we talk about like how to shift your identity. We talk about finding your passion. I'm still talking into the camera, damn it.
Dude, I caught myself just smirking at the camera. What?
Maybe we should just record our intros on video also. Like, I don't know why we don't, but we probably will after this one. Yeah. So we talk about shifting your identity. We talk about how to get your kids to do what they want. We talk about
everyone wants, even if you don't have kids, you're going to want to know this.
We talk about chasing your passion versus becoming passionate about what you're already doing. We cover a wide range of awesome topics that lit us up, that lit Anthony up, and I think you're going to love it. And so make sure you grab the notes too.
Yeah, get the notes because we're taking a ton of them, or Sue is, not us. We don't have fingers to do that. I mean, Matt chopped them off. He's like, I'm not taking notes. I'm done with this. I just talk now. No, go to flowchartgroup.com, and they are going to be free for you, these notes we take for you, which are like 4 or 5 pages, in-depth notes, and they are nice in cohesive orders. So flowchartgroup.com, plug in your email address, and you also, it's part of our Facebook group, so don't be alarmed. But you would probably definitely want to, wow, cancel all of that crap I just said. Definitely join the group, flowchartgroup.com.
Do that.
Email. What else do we got, Mr. Matt?
Well, we're going to talk about Hrefs right in a minute, and then we're going to go talk to Anthony. So,
Hrefs first, huh?
Yeah, let's go do that.
Yo, Matt. All right. How you doing?
I'm all right.
All right, cool. Yeah. So,
like you care.
I know. You're right. I'm just moving on to the next thing. So, just kidding. All right. We recently did a full-on audit of our site.
We did.
And we saw
SEO audit specifically.
Yes, SEO audit. And we had some issues. Yeah. So, walk me through this. We used Ahrefs.
We did use Ahrefs, and when I ran our site through Ahrefs, I found all sorts of little calamities.
Yes. So Ahrefs, it was nice enough to give us the advice on how to fix these things, I believe.
Yes,
right?
Ahrefs tells you, hey, look, this should be HTTPS, but you've got it as HTTP. Maybe go fix that. Hey, this link is porting to a 404 broken page. Maybe go fix that one.
Bueno.
Hey, this URL here is redirecting like 4 times before it gets to the final destination. Maybe that's something you can fix, right? And you go and fix all those things, and the next thing you know, your site actually ranks a little bit better and goes a little bit faster.
The point is, we should probably be paying attention. Everyone, you listening, should be monitoring your SEO health, right?
Yes.
Matt?
You should be
the
monitoring.
SEO overlord over here, at least of the two of us.
Yeah, you should be monitoring your SEO health if SEO is important to you in your business.
Yes, definitely you should. We get most of our new traffic through SEO, and it's fabulous because it's free traffic. but we position our content in a way where it's attractive to Google and you, the listener, if you came through SEO. Maybe. Yeah. So Ahrefs is hooking you up, though, because they still have their normal Ahrefs, which we highly recommend. We've still used to this day for years and years and years on end. Every other SEO expert that we've had on the show also uses it. Well, now they have a free version that is actually a thing that's going to monitor your website for its health, 100 SEO issues and more. Backlinks, like you'll know who's linking to you and all that stuff. There's opportunities for you to do stuff there. And then, of course, all the keywords that are ranking for you. You can get this for free.
Yeah, it's free. Like, we talk about Ahrefs. We've been talking about Ahrefs forever. They now have a new thing called Ahrefs Webmaster Tools. You can find out about it over at ahrefs.com/AWT. That's ahrefs.com/AWT. Ahrefs Webmaster Tools. It is a free version of Ahrefs. So go check this thing out. Best conversion rate you're going to get. Monitor your SEO health, backlinks, and keywords for free. Check out ahrefs.com/AWT.
Anthony, round 2 is live. How you doing?
Round 2.
Yeah.
Fight. What was that?
Ooh, that was a good voiceover.
You like that? Yeah, I thought I used to do round 2, fight, and they go, and we just start.
Who was your character?
And I was a couple. I liked being like Blanca because he could like do the spin thing, but she always get beat. Chun-Li was dope, bro. She's just thing where she flip upside down and go chicken fried beef, and she'd like.
Oh yeah, so Street Fighter. Yeah, I'm a Ken or a Ryu guy. I was always one of those two, but they were like pretty much the same guy.
That's right.
Dude, it was all weird, and I mean, you had to get like the right like roll to the things to get them to shoot their stuff, but like you can get the little leg spin pretty quick with her, and then it was good if you got what was it? Was it the guy the Asian dude who could like do a drop kick and spin kick you?
Yeah.
Like, you just sit in front of him and just do a spin. I can't think of his name. I don't know what his name was. It wasn't Street Fighter, or it wasn't Mortal Kombat. You're thinking like I used to always think of like the guy.
Yeah, I was more of a Mortal Kombat guy than. I think
Liu
so.
Kang, yeah.
Yes,
I kept like Chun-Li kept coming to mind, but I'm like, no, that's the girl in Street Fighter.
Liu Kang was quick, man. He was my guy because I was a button masher, so everybody hated me. But if you get a fast guy, you just pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, or in Street Fighter, you just be the little like beast guy, and then you hang out in the corner and just shock, and then everybody hates you because you can't get close.
Yeah, that's right.
Blanca. Yeah, that's right.
Come on, dog, get up on game.
I forgot his name. Yeah.
Don't even know. They got E Honda. A guy.
We got
and the guy with the stretchy arms too.
That's right.
Yeah. I can't think of his name. He was the Indian guy with the rings on his neck.
Yeah.
You know what was dope though? Vega was dope. Vega had like the face mask and he just the flowers.
The claws. Thing. Didn't he have claws too?
Yeah, you do. He climb the walls and like go to the ceiling, like drop on you and
you're like, you're not supposed to do that. That's not part of the fight.
Oh man, I forgot about all this stuff.
All right.
Guy was pretty dope too. He used to throw those sonic booms at you.
Oh yeah, he was like the Marine guy, right? Army guy or something. Yeah, that's cool.
All these different identities we're talking about.
There you go. Yeah,
they were all on display in our youth, and look at it. All right, so I don't even know what I did. Like you've had. I don't know how many identities, man. I'm looking at your bio. We talked about your story big time, in the previous episode. Wasn't it maybe last year and a half tops? Mm-hmm. Amazing. And we deep dove on your backstory, and it's crazy all the way from, foster kid for a long time. 11 years, I think it was, right? Yeah. I mean, it's wild. I know the inside of that a little bit on the parenting side. Did some fostering myself, but you did that. Football, all the way from high school, switched to college, and then NFL, and then another identity shift. Happened there when injury happened. Obviously, I'm kind of telling your story a little bit, but the whole thing is like you've had so many different identities like ripped from you.
Well, yeah. It's always too. Going through the story. It sounds like that's exactly like what you just said. It sounds like you kind of started to identify as a person, and then as soon as that identity was sort of solidified, that identity is kind of ripped away, and then you had to go and reinvent yourself, and that's kind of seemed like a recurring theme for a while in your life. So
that's at least our perspective, but I want to hand that to you.
In everybody's life, though, I think we all have those moments.
Yeah.
No matter who you are, like I may have had it start earlier and have it be a little funkier, but the reality is we've all done that, and it's not usually been reflected upon. And it was done unintentionally. But yeah, I've navigated a whole bunch of weird stuff, dude. There's a quote that I love, and it says, "A smooth sea makes not a skilled sailor." And I might have said it in the last podcast. There's a great possibility because I have no idea what the hell I said back then. But But I believe heavily that at the end of the day, we are all given different rough seas. And if you can navigate them earlier in life, it makes it easier later in life because you understand how to navigate them. And it's better that way because you have way more responsibilities as you're older than when you're younger. So like when you shut down as an adult, like you got a wife and kids and bills to pay, like, ain't nobody care, man. Work harder. When you're a kid, it's like, all right, go to your room and cry a little bit. You'll be fine.
Yeah, man. Well, you showed up in my life when it got pretty rough for me. I lost my dad to suicide, and I think it was right around the time or right after, and you and I hopped on a call and just gave me some of your story, and your family story as well. And it was rad, man. But yeah, to your point, like, can't just stop. But that was an identity of mine that was ripped away. So it was kind of this, this lull, or like, what the hell now? And that's where I think your book, Identity Shift, and that's what we're going to really hone in on now, is like, because you've like put frameworks to all this stuff now.
Yeah.
This didn't exist, in the last episode, where it was a lot more of your story and we're talking mindset and all these experiences. Now, like, it'd be cool to get into some of the practicalness, and then people can kind of take away and see where they're at right now and do something about it.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot. It's funny as that stuff existed back then. We just didn't talk about it. There's an interesting dynamic to my life where when we get on, there's two sides. I can go left brain, which is I'll talk about all the stuff, which is they're going to be a great benefit to it. But then I have so much of a story that people want to go right brain with it, which is it's totally fine. But it becomes like, what meal do we serve? Like, I'm really good at spaghetti and really good at hamburger. Like, what do we mean? So like, yeah, majority of people are like, do I want to just hear your story? Yeah. And so telling the story is definitively of value to people, I find. But there is a depth of like, all right, now past the story, here's how you take it and use it.
Yeah, man. So I guess for folks who did not listen to the first episode, is there a way you can maybe summarize the story, your story, in a way where like you're hitting the main points? I was kind of alluding to some of them, and then we can kind of get into what identity shifting is and how folks can kind of apply this to themselves.
My immediate thought is to do something like jokey because I'm a happy, funny. I'm in a good mood. I was going to be like, I am dope, and then leave it at that.
That's cool.
I'm being facetious, man. I'm totally playing around. No, we all need to have that. I think football teaches you to have that for sports I played, but not enough people can actually be like, no, I'm dope, man. Like, I'm not dope, meaning you're not dope. I'm just dope, and I like me, and that's something you have to build into. It took a lot of time, but I also realize if I'm gonna be a guy talking and sharing things, I better have that in me, because if not, then it's like I'm doing what I'm doing, hoping to get the thing to make me feel like I'm good. And it's like, that's not the place to start. Like, be good, then go talk to people. Anyway, so we're going on a tangent. Bring it all back now. You hear? So when I grew up, I was given away to foster care, had a really tough upbringing, had a lot of different situations from, different abuse and stuff, growing up poor in an all white family, a lot of things where I didn't quite know who I was identity wise, did get adopted, tried my hand at sports, was horrible at it, got really good out of the blue from doing a whole bunch of crazy work, ended up earning a college football scholarship, was homecoming king, was with my high school sweetheart, all those amazing things, went to college, had a kid with my high school sweetheart my sophomore year of college, met my real dad, still became a great dad, and then progressed to 2 years later, ended up in the NFL, playing in this amazing level of sports, best in the world. Really, really difficult 2.5 years-ish where I was there trying to figure it all out. And then I ended up tearing my shoulder, ended my season, ended my career, came home at a massive identity crisis, didn't know who I was, had 2 more kids, marriage fell apart, business was tanking. I wasn't a good father, like everything sucked. I was getting out of shape. I didn't like myself, had a massive crisis, got suicidal at one point, and then found a way to climb, but more so just to survive for a lot of years until unfortunately my adoptive mom passed away, which really triggered me to start figuring out how do I do better in life. And in that trajectory, it took me 2 years to finally hit a switch of like, do you got to do something? And I started doing things. The things that I did took me from a place of living in a 500 square foot studio apartment with my kids on an air mattress, not loving myself, to where I now have been on American Ninja Warrior TV shows. I've been on Mental Samurai. I've traveled the world and spoke on stages. I write books. My marriage got back together after 3 years divorce. I now have an amazing family, an amazing marriage, and I get to do cool things. And what I did in that window that took me from a place of sucking as a human, in my opinion, and not even liking myself, to what I'm blessed to do now is everything that I put inside this book right here.
There it is. That was amazing.
I feel like you've told that story before.
30 minutes. Maybe once or twice.
Last time it took an hour. That time it took 2 minutes. Maybe. Man.
Well, years ago when I started, speaking, because the thing is you got to have enough care for the people you're going to talk to understand how to actually, because part of what I do is I want to get into your head and heart. I have to get there. If I can't get there, I can't actually make the impact I want. And there are a lot of people who they spend so much time on the story elongation, they don't realize it doesn't matter. Really, the story is, can you hit the people's parts the way you need to? So early on, I had to learn how to be a skilled speaker, right? And it takes time, my friend, but I have to learn how to tell my story. I can tell the same story in an hour and have you on your edge of your seat for an hour, or I can do it in 2 minutes and have you on your edge of your seat for 2 minutes. But if you can't go from 2 minutes to 60 minutes, you're not a pro just yet.
Well, that's a good lesson right there. Someone can, we can rewind and just study what you just did there. And I'm like, all right, how can I do that kind of thing?
Now, when it comes to identity, when somebody comes to you and says, what do you do? I feel like so much of identity these days, especially when you go to like networking events and you're going out and meeting new people, so many people identify as the sort of career they're in, the role that they're in. And what do you do is the first question people ask. And then, so when somebody asks you, what do you do? What's your answer?
I hate that question, first off. But what I tell people is I help people make shift happen. Mm-hmm. And they go, what does that mean, you make shift happen? I go, well, if you think about it, remove the F, you get it. Okay, yeah. Well, you wouldn't say that language unless it was something super cool, right? Yeah, okay, I help you create that vision of getting to that next level. Now they're like, well, how do you do that? And I go, well, I'm a speaker and a coach. And you're a life coach? Absolutely not. I don't coach anybody's life. I coach the identity of the human. What do you mean? I say, well, at the end of the day, your identity has to match your dream or it'll never be realized. And I go, and then we can go deeper in a rabbit hole. And so for me, a lot of people have dreams that are far beyond their current identity. And so because of that, you almost will never have it until you learn to shift into that identity. The cool thing is, as you shift into it, you simultaneously transform as a human, but you also achieve that thing. And that's kind of the cool beauty of how you do it. Now, we've done this in our lives in different ways. All of us have. The unfortunate part is sometimes we shift into a lower gear, like a lower level, without intending to, or we take way too long and experience way too much pain to get to the higher level. We do it just, haphazardly by trial and error, by sheer survival. So I went back and said, all right, well, how can I shortcut this? And how can I all but guarantee you reach that next level and then have the things you want? Because if I go out there and go, hey, I help you make an identity shift. Somebody goes, I don't know what you're talking about. That sounds like chopped liver. I don't want that. Right? I don't want that. But if I go, okay, well, I'm going to help you make shift happen. What kind of stuff? What do you want to have happen? Well, I want more money and I want to have a better car and I want to have a better body. Beautiful. I'm going to tell you right now, it's a dream you have. If you don't have an identity that matches that, it won't come to fruition. And if it does, it'll be because you burned yourself out doing it. And so it won't last. And so I teach you how to be able to shift to it smoothly. So it's effortless effort. And not only do you get to that level, but it opens up doors to the next ones. It becomes more desirable. It's more of like, I bet that's what I want. So now we can step into a place where I can actually provide value that somebody wants. It's a journey, man. It's honestly been a long journey because this is not a common concept.
Well, it's also one that if someone really does enjoy themselves or parts of them, or maybe the ego is having them hold on to characteristics of their story, maybe some of their past, that's an objection of like, I don't want to change my identity, but shift, oh, wait, hold on. So what is the shit that you want to do in your life? That's great, but something's holding you back, something from the past.
That's why shift is different than change, because change is heavy, man. Like it's a bigger word. I purposely don't use the word change because I can't change somebody. And most people don't actually change, they shift. Like my wife and I, we were married and then we were divorced. We got remarried. She hasn't changed. She's just shifted. She's the same person quite literally like 80% the same person she was before the divorce. That 20% that was amazing, right? That little shift. And that's what we're looking to do. It's not a heavy, hard thing, but to be quite honest, most of us know the areas that we're lacking, but it's either we don't know how really to work on it or we don't want to work on it. Or, honestly, this is what I've come to find. Yeah. A lot of people got I got a vision, but it's not a crystal clear vision. It's just kind of like, I got this thing I want to do. And then what they do is like, even if they do have it, they kind of go like this all over the place on the way to getting to it. No one goes, right. There's no certainty or control. And that's what I try to give back to people is, hey, clarity in the vision is what you want to where you can taste it, touch it. You can describe it, how many different, bumps are on the tire of the car you want. What color is it? What kind of gas? Whatever it is. Can I get that clear on it? And then on top of that, can I go, okay, great. How do we make it to where I get up and every day I have a ridiculous sense of power because I have control and certainty that everything I am doing is moving that direction to getting that. And the way you get it is by becoming. So it's a little bit philosophical, but it's actually not. To be honest, it boils down to what the hell are you doing today? Like, what are you doing today?
Yeah.
If you get down to the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of clarity. So I would think that folks don't know where they're currently at, and maybe it's maybe emotionally you kind of feel it, or in your checking account you see it in some cases, depending on what your deal is. But yeah, it's like figure out the clarity, but then the plan. That's where like the disconnect. I guess there's that gap, and I think you call that the identity gap, right?
It is an identity gap.
Yeah.
The gap is the gap between who you are and who you have to be to have what you want, right? That's the identity gap. And to be honest, I say that, but really it's like there are certain aspects that attach to your identity. So identity is comprised of different things. There are beliefs, thoughts, actions, habits, mindset, and ego and personal pride. It's actually in the book in a model. It's called your ideal identity, or I'm actually messing with the language of zone identity. Because when you're in the zone, dude, everything flows. But the gap that most people have, it's like, all right, well, I got a client, for example, right now, and we're doing this thing where he needs to actually call specific people to be able to spin up the business. He is deathly afraid. He isn't telling me this, but I can tell because he's 3 days behind and every day is a new excuse, but it's a good excuse. So what I'm realizing is internally in him, what ends up happening is he has a gap of belief. There just is. There's a gap of a belief of what he's supposed to do, if it'll work. And so he keeps asking me questions. And the questions he asks, I haven't yet pushed back, but I answered a question. But in my head, I'm like, the right identity would never ask this question. It would just go seek an answer. So you have a gap right here. And so these little things, they show up in our life without us knowing it, and they stop us from getting to where we want to get.
Yeah.
And you know what we do? We try to cover it with information. We have this, I call it the epidemic of shelf esteem. Right? I get stuff.
I get you.
I read the books. I watch the things. I hire the coaches. I go to summit. Whenever I hear somebody say, I've invested $16,000, $20,000 into my education and I have nothing to show for it, I go, okay, well, let's go ahead and figure out why, because you got the information, right? Do you know what to do? Well, yeah. I said, have you done it? No. Well, why not? And then you get a laundry list of excuses. And I go, hold on, pause. So you're telling me you just need more information. You don't need an identity shift. No. I work hard. Okay, great. Well, tell me this. What is it? The excuse? Okay. The person who has what you're telling me you want, would they make that same excuse? And the answer is no. In fact, the thing you're giving as an excuse, it wouldn't even cross their mind. It would be, like there are things that might. It wouldn't exist. It would seriously, it's levels so high above, it would pass underneath like a thief in the night. But you're over here saying whatever the excuse might be, like my kids will do things. And I'll just, for example, like my son, he's got his car and like his car light's on and he doesn't fix it. And his excuse is, well, the battery's dying and this is going on, the light's there. And I'm like, so why is it not getting done? I'm busy. And I go, okay, well, do you know how? Well, no. I seriously let it ride like that? Yeah. I go, well, for me, the moment it came on, it wouldn't even be a question. I would just fix it. But that's who I am. He's not that guy. But for him, he doesn't understand the separation. It's like, it's who I am to do it. Therefore, I wouldn't even contemplate walking back into my house with the light on. I'd figure out why the light's on, Yeah. So there's these separations. And so the thing that's stopping somebody, the other person doesn't even compute. That doesn't compute that's your excuse.
Yeah.
And what happens is the most prevalent way to have it show up is you always hear people say, get around bigger rooms, bigger thinkers, bigger right? And the reason it's important is because it's like stepping in from like the blazing Florida heat into the air conditioning. You feel the temperature change. Yeah. You start to hear they speak, how they talk, and it unsettles you without saying a word. It unsettles you. You're like, this is way out of my normals. I don't know. It feels different. And that, quite honestly, is how it should feel when you step to that next stage. It's going to be out of the box of what you currently do.
Yeah, and it's going to feel good too. It'll be a little out of place feeling, but once you do it, it kind of, it's that almost like the desire is like met a little bit, because I feel like anyone who has that gap does have like this underlying desire to achieve greater, maybe. But maybe there's something tugging at them that's even like because I was thinking mental health has got to play into this too, like anxiety and things. If excuses after excuses. There's got to be something like that.
It elicits itself. It shows up that way. The funny thing is, it has nothing to do with the person, everything to do with the dream they're casting. Because here, the only reason there's a gap is because I kicked the ball far from me and I'm trying to run up to it. There's a gap between me and the ball. But if the ball is at my feet and I don't care to go and kick it anywhere, I'm good. That's why people who have jobs that they love, I love them. But when you have a job you hate and you complain about it all day, this is a gap. Because now you want something farther away and you have a gap between you and that thing and you don't want to get it. So it does get to the point you're talking about. And I think it's okay for people not to have to stress out and freak out. And it shouldn't be this debilitating, stressful thing. But I think the mental health and anxiety comes in because I see the gap and I feel like I'm helpless and powerless to close it. And then we spin up. We hate ourselves. Everything sucks. I have crappy colored filter of my way I see the world. It all is horrible because I'm helpless. And the thing is no, you're not in any way. In fact, everything you want is attainable, but not the way that you're staying as a person or the things you are doing. Something has to shift. And when you do, even if it's just shifting the perspective of, oh, I can, well, now we start down a different path.
Yeah, dude. And that ball analogy actually makes so much sense because when that gap is greater, that's where the more anxieties, excuses, potentially the hopelessness, but then you start to close the gap. It's like we had Stephen Kotler on here, flow expert, and he was like, just go a little bit outside of your abilities, and then that's kind of the flow state right there. Challenging yourself, but not too far, and that gap isn't too wide then, but it's a good thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. True that.
Yeah.
True.
I dig that.
Yeah. One of the things I actually wanted to talk about too. This was on so you have Off Shift. What's the other podcast? You have one that's like a solo podcast as well.
Yeah, it's called the Shift Starter Daily. I might change the name, but I probably won't. But yeah, it's the Shift Starter because I want people to start shift, man. I want people that are like shift starters in the world. Like go do stuff, create things.
Yeah, I love that. And I was listening to one of your episodes this morning, and it was all about coaching your kids. And so I've got 2 kids. Joe has a kid, and it's something that I think would be kind of interesting to talk about because I know that's something that I struggle with. My kids are 6 and 8, so they're at an age where they kind of talk back and they're sassy, right? So they go to school and everything their teacher says, they do it, right? Everything their teacher says to do, they're on it. They have a lot of respect for the teacher. They come home, I say, hey, go clean your room. They're like, no.
Nah, daddy.
No, I'm gonna do it later. So I'm curious, how are you sort of instilling some of this stuff with your own children? How are you coaching your kids, and how do we get our kids to a place where they're coachable? And that's probably the wrong question, but you'll probably correct me.
How can I get them to do what I want? Is that what you're trying to say?
I totally get it, man. I got kids that they don't want to listen, but they do. I find that there are ways we got to look at kids, and we got to find a way to tuck into a space. This is all humans, right? Kids are just little humans with bad processing. So the way I look at it is we cannot want more for someone than they want for themselves. So when I look at things that I want my kids to do, I don't say, how do I get them to do it? I say, how do I get them to want it? It's a definitive difference. I think you get it too. I'm like, how do I get them to want? So my youngest son right now, he plays football and I coach him, and I would like him to play at a high level because he's capable and he has the skill sets, and he says he wants to do it. But I realize I can't be the guy driving that. He needs to, because people protect what they create, not what you create for them, right? Think about if somebody gives you something as a gift, it's like, cool, right? I'll take care of it. But if it breaks, nah, But if I built it, bro, get away from this. Keep it clean, keep it tight. It's mine. Don't, because I made it. Yep. So what I look at is for me and my kids, I try to get them to figure out what do they want, and I tie things to what they want. Now, parents do it in the wrong way. You want to play video games? You better go outside and clean every piece of poop outside from the dog. You better, lick the cat's face because it licked your face. No, why not? But the idea is you do have to get to the point of realizing, all right, cool, there's some things I got to get to do. And so what I look at is that's the first piece of it. Second piece of it is when I want kids to go and anybody to be inspired at a higher level, I got to introduce them to people outside of myself that would be able to water the seeds that I plant. Mm-hmm. I need to plant seeds. I cannot water them. So when I have my oldest son, I want him to be inspired and motivated to go do track or whatever he does. I can't go out there and yell at him to go work out. I got to put him in front of people that'll inspire him so he does his own work and does that. It's a big, big piece of it. And then the podcast you listen to is about me coaching my son. Mm-hmm. and making sure there's a delineation between coaching and parenting. You can't coach your kid, right? You have to coach an athlete. So like when I go out to my house and I'm here, I don't come home and coach my son. I parent my son. Mm-hmm. Now I could be a parent talking to him about sports, right? But I am not his coach. Coach stays at the football field. When I'm on the football field, I don't bring the parent out there. I'm not talking about, you did this, I'm going to take away your groceries, food, whatever. I'm making things up. Yeah. I'm not going to do that because it's just weird. It crosses lines. And then they don't think they get the benefit of each side because all they hear is you're the parent and you don't like me, don't love me because I didn't do this right in the football field. So for a lot of parents, I tell them, like, if you're going to coach your kids, don't parent your kids. And when you're parenting, don't coach them. It makes it weird in either direction. Now, your question was, how do I get kids to do things I want to do?
That's how Joe worded my question. But yes.
It's a magical question. I don't know if to be honest, I think you stay close to them and you talk to them a lot.
Yeah.
Every night at the dinner table, we have this thing where we do a good day, bad day. Every night at the dinner table, we very rare. I mean, 99% of the time, if it's a late night and my wife and I are dead tired, we'll be like, hey guys, eat what you want. But that's very rare. Mm-hmm. Majority of the time at the dinner table, we pray first and we eat, and everybody does good day, bad day. And I am close to the kids. We hear what they got going on. I understand that the struggles they got, how things were good, how things were bad. We hear it. And then what happens is you diminish the ability for them to be communicating in a negative way because you've taught them to communicate positively. So it's not always this argument back and forth, but also I get them to respect me and feel respected. So like if I'm like, hey, bro, clean your room. It's not this, you're only telling me bad stuff. It's like when they talked to the night before, hey, I did this. Hey, great job, man. Hell yeah, bro. I love what you did that. Hey, everybody's like, hell yeah. So if I'm like, hey, clean your room, man, it's a little bit easier because we're in a better relationship.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so they do it and they go, I tell my boys, I'm like, look, your mom's going to come home and freak out. You know it. So you can either handle it on your own and do it your own and make her happy, or you can do it angrily while she's pissed at you because it's dirty. It's like totally up to you, man. But like I can have that conversation because I have a relationship. Most parents nowadays, they don't know their kids, I don't think. And you know who knows them best? YouTube and Facebook, man. That's who knows the videos. They're sending stuff to them all day. They know them better than we do.
Yep. The algorithms are shaping everything there, man. And yeah, for sure. And I like that outlet too at the table there in communication. It gets the thing that could potentially be stirring around in their brains. Maybe they do have some aspirations, but they're kicking themselves and coming up with excuses potentially, the gap's too large. It's almost like this whole thing, whatever they want to achieve, you can hear it, the good and bad. I love that, man.
Truth. Just, it's conversation. Talk to people.
This is good. Talk to people. Yeah. What do you got?
I want to talk a bit about chasing your passions, right? I know that's a topic that pops up quite a bit among a lot of the podcasts that you've done. And there's this sort of dueling mentality around chasing passion, right? That I've been struggling with, and I've watched a lot of videos about. And there's one way of going, okay, this is the thing I'm passionate about, so I'm going to do everything I can to go that direction and do the thing that I'm passionate about. And then there's another sort of way of thinking of, I'm going to do what I have to do and figure out how to be passionate about the things that I'm doing, right? Yeah. So I don't know if they're necessarily in competition with each other, but there is this kind of way of thinking of like, can I be happy and find passion even in like doing work that doesn't feel fulfilling versus should I be constantly chasing after some bigger passion? Does that make sense?
Makes 100% sense. Was it Rowe? Is it Jim Rowe? Or what's his first name?
Jim Rome?
No, Rowe, something Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs.
Oh, yeah, Mike Rowe.
Okay, yeah. Dirty Jobs, yeah.
Mike.
Yeah, he has something where he talks about like, don't chase your passion, chase what makes you money, freedom. And the one thing I think no one thinks about is we talk about this, either this or this, as if these are the two variables.
Right.
When the variable is the fact that every single effing human being is a different variable. Like, so it doesn't, there is no definitive. That's the sucky part about this. You're asking this, hey, should we do this or should we do this? Well, who the hell is the should? Who is the person? That's where my brain goes as the human. Right. What I do know is we all have different drives, needs, and awards. There's a book by Tamara Lowe written years ago, and she breaks down like certain people's drives, their needs, and what their award system is. What really resonates with me is most people's need for variety or for stability. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm a variety human. Yep. I do not do well with stability. It's weird. I think it's not that I like stability. but I get unsettled quickly because I'm like, I need something to spark my interest, right? So my wife's stability, she needs to know what's coming in, how it's working. I don't care. I need variety. If you told me, hey, I'm going to have you the same thing for the next 18 years, but I'm going to pay you millions of dollars, I would throw up in my mouth. And then I would throw it out. Because the thought of it sickens me. But if they said, hey, you're going to do different things for X amount of years, and you have an opportunity to make X millions of dollars, let's do it, bro. Yeah. Let's do it. I'm going to live life. That's me, though. And now for somebody, that makes them want to throw up, right? So what I look at is chasing passions. It's got to be different based on a human. The human that needs variety, I think you need to have the stability to be able to have variety. Yeah. So I need to have something that feeds me, that clothes me, that houses me, so I can actually go and have variety. So I think that person's better suited as do something that you don't absolutely loathe. Do something that you can do, right? You may not love it, do something. But what you need to do is in the other time when you're chasing your passion, make sure you're chasing a passion that can replace the thing that you loathe. Because if I can find the way to go do this thing, play with this thing, we're good. We can replace it. So now it gets to the point of, I think you can actually chase a passion and not have to feel like you're completely getting drained and you're having your soul just diminished because you're doing something you hate. That's where that little caveat. The person that's a stability human, I need things not to change. I don't think that person, really, in my opinion, the people I know, they're not even worried about passion. It's very interesting. Yeah. My wife, she's like, work is work. That's what it is. She can't even understand how my brain works sometimes. Like, how did you do that? You just want to do it. I'm like, it's who I am. No, work is just work. I'm like, no, it's not for me. But she's my best friend in the world. He's stability human. He tells me, he's like, I'm gonna do the same thing for the next 17 years of my life. The thought of it makes every part of my cells want to scream and cry. It's so weird to me. Yeah. But that's his piece, right? And so both of them, they're not worried about passion. If anything, they have hobbies that they're passionate about. They're not worried about living in a passionate place every single day. That's too much energy for them. It's just too much energy. I got to do my thing, right? Whereas for me, I need to have passion. And if I can chase it, it makes me a better friend to them, a better husband to them. But I do have to have a small focus on stability that provides that passion. And now, after doing years of things that I had to do here, like I'm in an amazing place internally where like my passion creates my stability.
Yeah, for sure.
But I had to earn that.
Dude, it's what you said there makes so much sense with stability and the go side of it. I mean, it's got to be a spectrum too, because
to me.
Yeah, because I could see it. Like you said, your wife. I'm like, my wife's definitely more stable oriented. Yeah. Well, I think you but every relationship, our business relationship, I know you're more stability, and
in some aspects, yeah.
That's why I think it's a spectrum there. And I'm more like on your side, Anthony. You know, I'm more the like, ooh, all right, you know. But it's interesting how you got to have both. You know,
yeah, nice I really do feel like it circles all the way back around to the identity and who you identify as. I mean, I think we all know some people like this. Joe and I have specific friends that I can think of that are like mechanics specifically, and they've been mechanics for the last 25 years, and they do that every day. They're fine doing that every day, and they live for the weekend. Saturday and Sunday, I get to go out on my dune buggies. I get to go, that's when we go and have fun. But Monday through Friday, that's for doing the work that pays the bills, that makes the weekends worth it. And that to me just never clicked. I'm just like, I don't get that. Like, why not just have fun all the time, including while you're making the money? Like, how do you figure that part out? You know,
there's no answer, and you can't convince the other person. I've tried this. You're talking about how I live my life, and in my opinion, my personal opinion, people who work to go party, I think that they live in disarray much longer than those who find a passion and do what they do. Here's why. Whenever you spend the majority of your days sitting at an office desk or something that you hate, some people sit there and love it. I love those people that love it. Some people hate it though. They're waiting for the weekend. When they get there, and they go off the hinges, bro. They're pounding drinks and going crazy. They're doing. They need to create that dramatic energy, and they do create it. And usually, it's not a healthy energy because it's thrown out, just with haphazardly. There's no angle. It's like a shotgun, right? And then there's me, and what I do is so their on time is boring, so their off time is crazy. My on time is crazy, so my off time is calm.
Yes, I relate to that so much.
Yep. Amen. I love that, man. These little takeaways like that, dude.
I think a lot. If you notice, I think a lot about a bunch of stuff. You want to hear another one?
Yeah,
I think
please.
it's going to be a question. Do you guys have a battery drawer at your house or anywhere in your home?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
This is those of you guys listening. This is not an attack on you, but please listen. So when I start with something like that, you guys are like, "What's he going to say right now?
Where's this going?" Yeah.
So I started like questioning. I started like in my head, I'm like, in my life, I've had a lot of chaos. And in that chaos, I had so much chaos that there was no way in the world that I could get to the point of having so much peace that the next thing on my docket list was I want to have a drawer with batteries. Right? Yeah. So what I've noticed in my life, the most successful people I've met have a battery drawer. Because think about how many problems that you have to have overcome and then just don't exist in your life for the next problem to be, I should probably have batteries for something I need in a year, just ready to go.
Yeah, man. You know, like we got that in our office.
We literally, I have a battery drawer at home, and we have a battery drawer in our studio here.
It's hilarious.
Well, I think, if you're in a studio, we do electronic stuff, so we need it, right? But even before that, I started like having a battery drawer because I don't need batteries for what I do.
Well, like
but I got like, I got watch batteries, 9 volts, weird things. I'm like, that's a cool one. Maybe I'll need that. Like that was my day, and I was like, I'm gonna just get hella batteries. and I found that like people who are in chaos, they don't have battery drawers. Now you might have a person that just happens to have it because mom and dad always did. It's a habit. But the majority of people I've asked, like they don't know I'm asking or why I'm asking. But if I know they're in chaos, I'll like plug it in. Like, hey, do you happen to have like a battery drawer? No, why would I have that? I don't know. I was trying to see if maybe you had. I need to, I'll just make something up. Yep. But they don't have a battery drawer, and I'm like, see, it's kind of getting this weird.
Got it. Yeah, you're taking like early actions to prevent like future chaos, and most people I don't think are in that thinking of like, this could be an issue later, so let's just solve it before it's an issue.
Yeah,
there's too much current chaos. That's the thing is that there's such a level of chaos, and the thing is, I think we need to have those stages. We all will have a stage of unsettled and chaos. Where like I'm worried about the bills and doing this and going here, to where a battery drawer wouldn't even cross my mind.
Yeah,
but at a certain time in my life, I was so at peace and things are moving so smooth. I had nothing else to do, and then just battery drawer popped in. I'm like, oh, cool. That would never have popped into my head 10 years before, you know?
No.
So that was my caveat little conversation.
But what does it mean if my wife is the one who created the battery drawer?
Dude, I was just going to say the same thing. I was like, we got smart wives, but
dude, you have smart wives.
There's part of success is just marrying into success. It's your relationships, right? I mean, it's true. Being open to that. So
I think part of this, for sure.
Dude, Anthony, all right. So you do like 1 million podcasts for like, I think, is that your marketing channel? Like primarily is just
no.
What?
No, we do ads and everything. We do all the same stuff, man. So I do podcasts because I like talking, and I have my own solo one. So I like interviewing people. So that's like I did the first Oz Shift podcast. Yeah. The Shift Starter Daily came because people wanted to have me be individual in their ear. Like, hey, can you do some on your own? Like, I want to just hear your thoughts. And I was like, all right. So I'm not going to do it for 30 minutes. I'll do it for 8 minutes. But it's like, it'll be like, I can edit it. I use a roadcaster. It's an immediate edit. So it's done and I pop it out. Yep. So it's that. And then I just like talking to people, man. I have a joy of me that I find is infectious for other people. So like they ask me to come on and hang out. So I'm like, let's go hang out. So it's not the channel of what actually brings revenue in is like speeches and social content that we create. And then we run ads. That's what actually brings it in. The podcast, they do for sure introduce me to people, but people aren't going podcast. Let me go to this guy's thing and pay him money. That's not, they have to go, okay, I like this guy. Let me see what he actually does. And if it's of value to my life to check it out. And that's how it progresses forward.
Now, was this going on all these podcasts and just really enjoying talking to people? Was that a part of an identity shift, or is that something that you've just always had?
Yeah, no, I don't think so talking to people is always going to be scary if you don't know what you're saying. So early on, I just like talking to humans, but I wouldn't have felt comfortable coming on this podcast right now 5-6 years ago. I'd have come on and I would have been thinking I had something to say and it would have been valuable, but I've done so many now and got so much feedback. I'm like, all right, I know the things that people enjoy hearing. I know like the commonalities of what's like consistent's got to be made sure we cover. And then I know how to explain things because I've explained it hundreds of times now between clients and podcasts and speeches and just, so it's like at this point, it's fun and it's much easier, but it was developed over time for sure. I didn't start off like, I want to go on podcasts and talk to people. You just get better. And there's a sweet spot that we all get to when we've done the work. And I'm sure you guys have been here before. It might be here now. But the sweet spot is when I do something that I love doing because I've developed a skill and I love doing it, right? That people love that I do. That's a marriage that is like, when you get to that one, it's beautiful. I mean, it's a bad, I don't know why it came into my head, right? But like, it's like if the stripper loves stripping, like that'd be the sweet spot. And I don't know if they all do. I'm sure some of them do, 100%, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
But like, it's an artist who loves making music and people love their music. There's nothing better than that, I don't think. This is my version of music. And I create thoughts and ideas and I put them out. People go, man, that was helpful, man. I go, yes. Like, I loved doing that. I loved creating it, and you loved hearing it. We're in a great, amazing place.
What more do you need? Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, a couple things. Let's shout out your book. So how's the best place to get Identity Shift? I know it's getting released, August 24th, right?
Yeah, baby. Yep. So August 24th, which is in a couple weeks, dude. It's coming up quick.
So it should be released by the time this goes live.
It should be out now when this episode's
there
live.
You go. Yeah.
Boom. Go find it. We're talking from the past. You're in the future. What it's like out there. No, it'll be released August 24th. And the book it's a straightforward way of two things. One, getting the concept anchored so people get the concept. And then two, the process. And I believe that in order for us to have great success, we have to have both process and people. And I know that the books do a good job of giving you concept, but none of them really give you process. And none of them really give you people, because it's just your own thing. And by people, I mean like a surrounding group of like a dream team that keeps you dialed. So the book I wrote to give people the concepts, they get why it's important. And I give you the process to be able to actually understand it, to do it. The people, you can come see me or go to community or come see you guys. That'll help you get what you need. Because without people and process, you fall short in any area of life, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. Well, the book's called Identity Shift by Anthony Trucks. What's the best website for people to grab that?
Best website is identityshiftbook.com.
Right on. All right.
And then if you want some free things, man, it'll show you if you go there on the actual. I can make a code. We'll make a code for you guys.
Why not? What do you want that code to be? I know hustle's not the jam. You used to have a previous show.
Bro, I like hustle's the show, cuz.
All right, hit me. Hustle?
We'll go with HAF, hustle and flow. HAF will be your code. And what that means is if somebody goes there and they get the book and come back, the freebies they get with the code, or they will actually get the audio book, which I got to record here today. They'll get the digital book and they'll get the workbook, which is actually, I think, borderline almost done right now. But what the cool thing about it is it increases cognitive rigor. The difference between people who take something and apply it and those who don't is, do they understand it thoroughly? It's why people say the best way to learn is to be learning with the intention of teaching it. Because what happens is when I learn it, the thing about it, I read books a lot. I don't gather everything, remember everything from it. I got to take notes, remember it most of the time. And it's hard to recall all of it. But the things that I read and I have to do work on, it increases my cognitive rigor of it. It anchors it. So I made the workbook, and it's like $100 workbook. We actually dialed it in, but it's designed in a way for you to go, here's the process. Like, I got the concept, got the process. Let me work through it so it really anchors in and I increase that rigor. And now I can see it in real life and how to navigate it. So it's like a workbook that you can actually apply to your life.
All right, I'm going to go rebuy. We have the book, but I'm going to rebuy that thing just to get that, because that sounds epic, man. So
yeah, pop the code. I already bought it. Pop the code in there. I just got to pop the code and good to go.
I will. All right.
Wait, did we send you the book or you bought the book?
No, you sent it to me, or someone on your team did. So
I'm like, did Amazon send it early? What's going on right now?
How the heck did he have? You looked a little surprised when we were holding it up.
Yeah, well, I got a good team that does things, and I'm pretty sure I gave them your information. And they took care of all of it. And I was like,
they were great, man.
Yeah,
we had a little insert and all that fun stuff. You know.
Yeah, this morning I was on with Russell Brunson, a live stream for him, and we're doing funnel hacking live, and he had it too. And I'm like, where you guys get on this damn book?
Well, you listening can go to identityshiftbook.com and the code HAF, get all that good stuff they just said.
That's the best feeling in the world, though, is to like have just stuff happening in your business that you don't even realize is happening, that's progressing your business forward.
Well, you know what? On that front, we got to get you out of here 5 minutes early. Go record that audio book, my friend.
Thank you, man.
Wait to hear it. Yeah, man. Thank you. We're back. We're here.
We're still here.
Are we recording on camera right now?
We are recording on camera right now.
Never know what we're doing.
Yeah, well, I think I don't know if we did it on our last episode or not, but we decided we were going to start recording our outros. And I think we did on our last actual interview.
I think we did one, and that's probably why it hasn't sunk into my noggin yet.
Yeah, I think the last episode we recorded before this one was Joe Sanok, which came out last week. And I'm pretty sure we did an outro video for that one, too.
We did.
Might as well, right? Like more stuff that people can see on YouTube. Like, what if like we're recording one of these outros and Joe's shirt just like flies off?
Wow.
And
is this something you want to will happen?
And it turns out he's like wearing nipple clamps or something. And we're like, I wish we had that on video. Well, now we will.
I kind of want to make that happen. Not with the clamps, though.
No.
Band-Aids.
Band-Aids. Yeah, Band-Aids over the nipples.
like why?
Yeah.
Funny story. I did run a marathon one time.
With nipple clamps?
No.
But you put Band-Aids on your nipples, right?
Well, you know what happens when you run a marathon and you don't have Band-Aids on your nipples?
Chafing.
Blood. On the outside of the shirt. It's not a fun sight, but if you go to any marathon or even half marathon.
So you can breastfeed a vampire.
Oh, God. And I have been a vampire before in that sense. The breastfeeding part of it. I was the one dishing out the...
Gotcha.
This is weird.
Okay, yeah. I don't know where you're going with this.
Well, I don't know what was the breastfeeding vampire?
Yeah, because your nipples were bleeding.
Jesus, why are we talking about my nipples so much? This is
because,
weird.
I don't know.
Because
you brought up
it's like it's an obvious... Because they're there.
So, we had Anthony Trucks on the show today.
Anthony, I'm sorry that just took some of the space from this episode. Yeah. And go ahead. We had Anthony on, and he was freaking amazing.
Yeah, no, he's fun. Like off air, we were doing this kind of goofing around with Anthony. So I think we're just kind of keeping that energy going, to be honest.
Well, it's the point, and this is what we were saying is, man, he's just cool. You know, Anthony's so cool. You can tell his element is chatting with people and identity shifting and that whole thing. Get the book, by the way, obviously. But that guy lives and breathes it and understands it, and even said it's only going to get better and better. You know, writing this book is amazing. He's like, I've already gotten better since that thing. So it's like, that's why you want to listen to his podcast. Too. Yeah. Both of them, because
his
energy is just rad.
Not his Oz Shift. Oz Shift is the interview show. The other one was What the Shift. Right?
No, Shift Starter.
Shift Starter. Okay,
that's his podcast. He said he may or may not change it. He said he probably won't actually.
Yeah. But Shift Starter are little like between 3 and 7 minute like quick hits.
He said no more than 8 minutes.
Yeah, the one I think I listened to 2 or 3 of them in preparation for this recording, and the 3 that I listened to all fell at about 7-ish minutes.
So that's all the preparation you gave to Anthony, huh? Just two mini episodes. You're like, cool, I'm good.
That was part of the preparation.
I'm joking. I'm being facetious.
You were here when we were doing we do the research together these days.
We have a nice doc in front of us that we don't always talk about or make obvious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this was a great episode, and we wanted to bring him back, not only because he has this new book, Identity Shift, which you definitely want to get, and he's hooking you up, identityshiftbook.com.
Don't know if that's in focus or not.
Code word HAF to get all the string of bonuses that he talked about. I don't remember them, but one of them was a workbook that's like...
And the audiobook.
And the audiobook, that's right, and he's actively recording that right now.
Yeah. He had to finish the call to go record the audiobook.
Yeah. We gave him a little bit extra time, but get it. Get it. IdentityShiftBook.com, code HAF. That should work, and that gets released on the 24th of August, which...
we said on the show this will be out when the book will be out by the time this episode comes out, but actually the book still has a few days before it comes out.
Yeah. So,
but I think you could probably pre-order it.
Yeah, pre-order. Whatever it is. But go IdentityShiftBook.com. Use that code word. Go get hooked up. Get that workbook thing. I got to rebuy it. Yeah, I want that workbook.
Yeah. So after this episode, this is one of those episodes where we recorded it, and full transparency, we finished recording it about almost an hour ago, right? So we got off this call, and then you and I kind of got into some like deep discussions, and then we went, we need to go record an outro before we lose all these things we're discussing about this episode.
It's a great sign of a impactful episode. Yeah. And it's timely in many ways. We don't need to go on all those ways, personal, business. If there's more than that, I know there's more than that, but like it's a good thing. When we pace around in our office, we have this big empty office. When we pace or if I pace around a lot and you're usually on the couch, it's like,
I'm chilling.
That's what Matt does. I'm the pacer. He's the one that's just like, what do you move?
Joe's pacing around talking, and I'm like sitting there snoring, and then it'd be like, what do you think? I'm like, what? Can you say it again? I dozed off a little bit. No, that's not how
No, yeah, but that's a good sign when I'm the pacer and you're the couch lounger. That means that there's typically a good conversation happening, and that's exactly what just happened.
Yeah.
So now we're back. So let's talk about this.
Yeah, so like one of the things we were talking about was Anthony brought up this point about how there's like people who want a lot of variation in life, and there's people that just kind of want like Stability. That's the word. I was going to say monotony, but I'm like that kind of puts a negative spin on it. It's not monotony. It's just stability.
Yeah, wasn't it the doer, right? Or a variety. That's what he was saying. Yeah, variety and stability. Yeah,
variety and stability. Yeah, and so we sort of related in the fact that like I'm a little bit more craving the variety all the time. My wife's a little bit more stability. Same with you. You're a little more variety. Your wife's stability. Sounded like the same with Anthony as well. And then we started kind of riffing on like even in our own business. Like I might be a little bit more on the like seek stability side, and you might be on the more seek variety side. But I was kind of arguing the point that I think I'm like extreme on the variety side.
Yeah, but
like,
you're masked.
Yeah, well,
somehow.
The thing is, like, I feel like I want something different every day. If every day starts to feel the same, like I'm showing up and we're doing the same thing, and every day starts to feel like monotony, then like I just get burnt out. I start hating what I'm doing. I start. You and I will be on like 2-hour long conversations, going, "How do we mix this up? I'm so sick of this." And
yeah,
like
usually it's like, what are we doing with?
Yeah,
like,
what are we doing with our
business
lives and our business? And like,
got to burn everything to the ground and rebuild it because that's what we like.
But when you look at for me, I really, really, really just want something different every day. And that is the reason I create so many systems, right? And so like when we spin it all the way back to like the systematization thing, like the reason I blow through emails first thing in the morning and just clear them out so I don't think about them the rest of the day. Like the reason I have just like checklist after checklist that I'm like sticking with every day. And I've got all these automations running that just kind of do the parts and pieces for me. I'm doing that because I want that stuff out of my brain so that I can create the variety every day.
It's a deep thing, and yeah, it's not always obvious. At least, yeah, because I'm the one where we talked about this, where I'm not naturally inclined to. I desire the systems and all that, but I've never been wired to really like do that and think them through. But now I am. Like it's like hitting me square in the face all the time. So it's and luckily I have someone to kind of lean on a little bit in the business.
Well, I feel like the systems are the facilitators of the variety.
Yeah, and I think that's super cool, and that's probably why there's a relationship thing. Like if that's probably the commonality. I don't know. There's got to be something there where one person is more inclined for variety, like the natural tendency, with no seeking of the stability. But there's and then the married, like a wife, like for us, our wives, and 3 wives collectively, I guess we'll say, is like kind of all share the more stability part of the spectrum. Yeah, because I know that it's got to be a spectrum. We talked about that.
And even when there is, I know, with my wife, when there is variety, she wants the variety elements to be kind of planned out and thought through, and like she wants the variety, but she wants the variety next month where she can think it through and plan it. And book the like, let's say we're going on a vacation, book the travel, and figure out what we're going to need in order to do the travel. And like she wants the variety, but she wants this sort of she
wants to still know what the hell she's gonna do.
Yeah,
even
where
though
like
there's variety.
Where I feel like you and I are more on this end of the spectrum where like we almost sort of crave the chaos a little bit. Like we almost kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen today. I'm coming into the office. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what conversation we're going to have. I don't know.
That's the biggest variety is like the conversation. Yeah. Didn't know this was going to happen here.
I don't know what project we're going to be working on. I feel like this studio that we're in right now was like our sort of mechanism for like, we need to change shit up because this is getting monotonous. Yeah. Right? Like,
dude, I mean, all the way down to the freaking stools that we're sitting on right now in these chairs. If you're watching these videos, you realize we don't have anything behind us. Yeah. We're on these stools and we almost look fidgety in a way, but it's like, ooh, I just cracked my back. Yeah. That's nice. There's little IKEA stools. Like, it's giving us a little bit more flexibility and freedom. And someone like me, I know, is like, I like to just There's a lot of movement
Yeah.
happening, and we both talked about like in chairs, we're like, this doesn't feel right.
It's such a metaphor for our whole business, right? These chairs are a metaphor for our whole business. Like we were in our old chairs and we felt constrained, and we were just
things right here.
we were just like sitting there feeling constrained in these chairs. Like we have something to sit on and my butt doesn't hurt, but like I wish I had more freedom. And then we went and got these stools, and now like I got freedom. I can put my hand in Joe's fate. I could have done that before.
You better wash your hands, sir.
Yeah. But, it's kind of funny. They're kind of sort of this metaphor for like, we were constrained and these added additional freedom, like.
Nothing saying against the chairs we did have because they have a better use where they're at now.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy it much more where it's at and these things for podcasts.
Those are at our getting shit done stations.
Yeah,
We have getting shit done stations, and we have content creation station.
We got to think like time and place. Yeah, it's like this is how we want to have the flexibility and feel free when we're chatting with someone. I'm looking at like the monitor where Anthony was.
Yeah.
Now it's a desktop. So hi, Gradient. Yeah. But like, yeah, when you're at your battle station, you want to freaking lock on in and focus and flow. It's not flowing isn't like, oh, where am I going to go? Looking over here, or like that's conversation more so.
But when we're having these conversations, like we're wiggling and squirming and looking at each other and looking back at you and looking at the camera and looking at Anthony and looking at what's going on in the room over there. And,
are we?
Not really.
It's over there. Hey, a router. Oh, we haven't put those cables away yet.
No, we
it's
haven't.
a mess out there.
But actually, we do look past the camera when we have our whiteboard up over there for our Tuesday episodes.
Or if we're deep in thought, we're like, that was a good one.
Yeah, then I just look at the ceiling.
Well, yeah, actually, some of the folks that, and I don't know what the hell we're talking about now, but it's fun. They're like,
the people that came for Anthony have probably checked out by now. The people that like us are probably still hanging around.
Hey, you're my kind of peeps. We've been said, and it's totally true. I've been called out on it a lot, but it's like whenever it gets one of us or both of us kind of like looking up and to the right. That's my thing. Is like if there's a good thing, like Mark's Acosta Rubio.
Up and to the left just doesn't feel as natural. Yeah.
It's up to the right. Mark's Acosta Rubio called me out on that like years ago, and he's like, okay, so when you think like critical thinking or you have an idea and you're trying to put something together, you look up and to the right, because he noticed that with me, and I'm like, yeah, actually I do that all the time, and now I notice it. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. It's got to be a brain thing. I don't know. But yeah, so someone pointed out whenever we're seen looking up and to the right, we're like, that's a good one. All right, that's a writer downer, or that's a nuggeter.
And now that
these guys are,
it's funny because for the longest time I resisted doing video podcasts. Now, like our first 300 episodes weren't even on video. And what's funny is we passed episode 400. Never even made a mention of it. But
what is this, 405 or I don't know.
I don't even know.
Maybe more.
Yeah, but we actually just blew past 400 and didn't even call it out. But it's interesting because we used to resist being on video because we wanted to like hide that stuff. Like we didn't want our guests to know, like when we were thinking about something or if like we were taking notes or if like
we wanted to hide a lot of stuff. We were hiding.
If I was hitting the bong or whatever. Whoa. Like we didn't want the guests to see that.
I don't think Matt or I have ever hit a bong together.
That's not true.
Maybe once, actually.
420. Joe Rogan show.
Aha! Yeah, that was the once. That was the one time I was thinking, actually.
Yeah, that's the only time I can think we have. But
that's exactly the scenario I was thinking. That's funny.
It was before a Joe Rogan stand-up on 420 one year.
With our friends right before we went, and that was a good night.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't call out the friends because they may not want to be called out.
That's why I'm leaving it as friends. Yeah. Local friends in San Diego. All right, so I have an analogy from Anthony that he said on this podcast episode that hit me. And it put things in perspective, and that was the whole ball analogy. Like when there's a ball that you kicked out, like let's call it 50 yards away if you're on a football field, compared to a ball that's like right next to your foot. Like it's that whole closing the gap. And I brought up the whole thing with Stephen Kotler and the flow thing. He was like, you just want to like in flow, it's something like 10% more than your abilities, or just a little bit out of your grasp. When it's too far, the doubt comes in. You're like, I'm not good enough, or I don't have the tools, resources, know-how to do that thing to achieve these goals. And I think, I know in my life, and I'm sure everyone can relate somehow, but like that clicked for me. Yeah. And I was like, damn, that's really cool. So when it comes to goal setting, or even like, if it's like far off money goals, or like just ambition in general, I want this in my house, or I want to deck the blah, 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 blah. It almost like if you build too grand of a vision, and feel like you can get there. Like, I'm going to get there like next year or this year, 6 months, give it 6 months. I'm going to sprint. I'm like, but how the like, maybe you can. Cool. But like, I know I've gotten myself in mental trouble, and I know you've heard me where sometimes I'll like, what the fuck? I got too much to do. I'm like, yeah, because I put the ball way too far out there.
Yeah.
And like that thing needs to be a little bit closer, and then, bridge the gap is a lot easier.
Well, I feel like there's an additional analogy, and I don't know if Anthony Trucks agrees with this, like add on to his analogy, but like, in his analogy specifically, he was talking about people that consume. I listen to the podcast. I watch the videos. I've read all the books. Like, it's BS. I'm not successful yet, right? But did you take any action off of what you learned? No, right? So, like, the ball is sitting right there. You're just not kicking it. And so, like, like, the analogy that I was going to tack on to what he was saying is, like, the more you consume, the heavier that ball becomes, right? The harder it becomes to kick, because now you're like, I learned this and this and this. Now I have 15 directions I can go in. That ball just got harder to kick. It got heavier, right? So I don't know if he would agree with that as sort of additional analogy, but in my head it makes sense. Is that like the more knowledge you consume around a topic, the harder it becomes to kick that ball.
Yeah, you have more options. You have more, just things of what ifs.
Yeah,
it almost like brings up more questions where it's just like, how about you just tap the ball a little forward and like with whatever your current abilities are and knowledge, and then like pick it up there.
So going back to what you were saying, do you have like a specific example? Like, is there anything that comes to mind as far as like,
kicking the ball too far out?
Like the ball's too far out? Because in his analogy, kicking the ball meant taking action.
Yeah, and I guess that's where it was interesting, because I thought of it completely different, but it was still the gap though. So like with him, with Anthony, there's the whole the identity gap. I don't have it in these notes, but it's talked about in and that was the whole goal of the book. And this was on like chapter maybe 3 or something. But this is basically his words from the book. Like, one of the book's goals is to clarify how to close the identity gap so you can elevate your life to the next level.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So you upgrade how you operate at an identity level, and then you can basically create this ideal identity for your dreams.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the identity gap is like basically like the person you want to be and the person you are. Right. So
and understanding who those two identities are, and then how to bridge the gap. So I think back to your question, I was thinking it almost in that way a little bit. And I'll just say about the house, like I mentioned already, is like, there's certain things that I've always kind of not chased, but held as like a goalpost. And we've talked about this on the Psychology of Money episode. Yeah. That was a driver for a lot of years for my wife and I we always wanted to buy our own house in San Diego. It's pretty damn expensive, and it's competitive, has been for a long time. And we ended up buying a house eventually, 4 years ago. And it's still hard to do, even harder now. Yeah. But I remember before that, it was a lot easier. Like that was the ball almost. Yeah. But the ball wasn't so far out there, because it was like, I could just rent another place that's slightly nicer in a cooler area. It's downtown now. Or, I moved to Chicago for a little bit. Like,
the lifestyle creep. When you hit the goalpost you wanted to hit, the goalpost moves again. There's just a new goalpost.
And I felt like the ball wasn't that far out, because I'm like, okay, I've done this every year and a half to 2. Like, can't track how many times I moved in a short period of time. I tried. It's difficult. But now that we own a place and I don't have that ball to kick, I have to reframe what, I guess the identity I see for myself in terms of that goalpost that was driving my goals more. You know what I mean? Like, that was the thing I was reaching for, and it would take a lot of money and effort and so there were a lot of things attached to it. So I think now I'm the ball has been kicked out further, because I'm like, I want to make this house the biggest, baddest, coolest freaking house ever. But what I want to do to it is going to cost a crap ton of money. Yeah. And it might not even be in that certain house. So I think that's the thing that, going back to that episode, the ball's a little far out, and I've actually been pretty good at bringing that ball closer. So
That's there's multiple football analogies here. Like there's the moving the goalpost,
if you wish,
or soccer. There's like the moving the goalpost of like, all right, my goal is here. I've reached that goal. Now my goal is here. I've reached that goal. Now my goal is here. I feel like that's like the kind of football moving the goalpost analogy, and then you've got the like the kicking the ball. Like I'm like the ball's sitting at my foot, and I'm ready to kick it. I'm learning how to kick it. I just won't take that motion to kick the ball. right? So there's there's two analogies here that I feel like are kind of getting blended. But
they are but they're. I think go ahead with yours though. I want to hear your perspective on I guess one of the analogies like.
Yeah, well, I mean,
like reading. He even brought up reading, and you consume a crap ton of stuff, but you also, well, like, how does that land for you when you hear that? I mean, you take a lot of action, obviously, but I'm sure there's a lot you're not, too.
I think with me, there's a lot of, like, getting ready to kick the ball, and then just, like, nudging it a little, like,
nudge. Okay.
like
a side of the foot, just a little.
Yeah, like I'll
a safe kick.
I'll study a topic and I'll go like real in depth studying a topic. Like I don't know, for example, like cryptocurrencies, right? Like I'll study the topic of cryptocurrency and I'll go like real deep studying it. But then when it comes time to take action, I'll just kind of like nudge it with my foot a little bit. I'll be like, I'll throw $100 in there and see what happens.
You just reminded me about that whole NFT thing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
But actually, to your point, and like the whole like trickle out. Dollar cost averaging, investing that way. So, and I know that's what you do already.
I do, yeah.
So maybe you just bump that up and you keep the nudge, or you keep nudging it, but the level of your nudging increase. If I'm not giving you advice, but like, I think in terms of investing, that's actually a really good approach.
Yeah, and that's actually what I'm doing is I'm just kind of like nudging it a little bit, but I'm not I'm not going for a full kick that's going to get it through the goalpost. I'm just kind of like, let's get it a little closer, let's get it a little closer, let's get it a little closer. Like the goalpost analogy of like the lifestyle creep kind of thing. Yeah. Like I want the bigger house, I want bigger. Like I feel like with that kind of thing. I had that too for a while, and then something for whatever like clicked in me where I was just kind of like, I want the goalpost to keep moving, but the goalpost that's moving is up here. It's mental. It's not a physical thing. Like I want the goalpost to keep moving, and I want to expand, expand my comfort zone. I want to expand my knowledge. I want to learn deeper topics. Coming back to that first question about the Anthony trucks, like how did that stuff land for you? Yeah. I feel like my passion is learning. So every time I'm sitting around reading, watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts and learning, I am just actively engaging in my passion. And that's kind of like my perspective on it. But I think there's a lot of people that are consuming because they want to get to a new point in life, but they're never taking the action to get to a new point in life.
It's like
I'm
tactics,
consuming
right?
as a passion.
Yeah, and when you consume, is it tactics or more strategies, philosophical things, or perspectives?
It's a little of everything, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, like you've seen the types of books I read. Like right now I'm reading a book about investigative journalism. I've read books about how to be a better storyteller. Like I've got a crap ton of books about being a better storyteller. I don't feel very confident as a storyteller, so I read books where I feel like it's something that I do as part of what I do for a living, right? Yeah. We talk stories and stuff on our podcast all the time. So let's read stuff.
Get better at that.
Like I probably am a lot better at it now than I was 10 years ago. I just don't realize it because I'm that little baby that I see every day and I don't notice the change.
Well, you've been nudging your way forward. And I don't think that's a bad thing. That's exactly what I think we've done a lot with our business and all that. But that's I like that. That's cool perspective, and thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, my perspective on it might change a year from now. But that's the
Can I even trust you anymore?
That's the beauty of like this sort of like variable thing. And that was another point I was going to make about the whole like house conversation. I think the house conversation is less these days about moving the goalpost and more about wanting some sort of variation from the norm.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like you want to have, well, for me, there's certain things that the goalpost is, like, I want to have a badass hot tub on the deck, which I know is going to be a hell of a job to pull off. But that's more than just getting a hot tub for like $4K and throw it in the yard. Like, no, I want to blow the sucker out on the deck. I mean, this is going to be a full thing. It's not...
Wants a tunnel from his bedroom so we can just swim into the spa.
Even better, I just want to walk right outside my bathroom. Bam, spa.
A water slide from the spa into the backyard.
I'm down for that. I thought about that. Or a zip line. Zip line would be cheaper, but probably not safe.
Also a lot more dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds fun. I don't know. Yeah, this is all good, but I like that gap, whatever the hell analogy that meant, or what that meant to There's a lot of meanings.
Yeah.
It sounded like Anthony had a whole ton of these. He's like, I'm a deep thinker.
Yeah. Well, like a little fun thing that you can do. Like if you just kind of crave variation, instead of like going and buying a new house every time you're like, this is kind of feeling old.
Yeah.
Rearrange your shit, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
go into your living room and like put your TV on a different wall and rearrange your couch. Go into your master bedroom and put your bed in a different position.
Sure.
You have that same sort of effect of like, I get variation in my life.
100%. Yeah. Change the pictures on the walls. You know, just rotate one thing from one room to another, paint a wall.
You've seen my office. I call it my man cave now because I don't really do work in it anymore. But like I've got my like man cave.
Yeah.
I'm showing you pictures of it all the time.
It looks
fucking different every single time I show you a picture, though.
Well, actually, okay, you just reminded me because I don't currently have a home man cave, but I have the ability to make some, and I want to deck out the garage. And to your point, like shaking up variety, I've looked at the garage now with new lights because I think of what we've been talking about. I'm like, yeah, I could totally just paint the walls in this thing and make it look not like a garage.
Yeah.
But like throw a freaking TV over here, my workout stuff. I want to make it a lot cleaner. Right now it's just kind of like in a garage.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, if I made this, like gave it a little spice, a little more flavor and a couple of LED lights, because lights always help, up lights, you know, in the garage, why not?
Yeah, it sets a mood.
It's the mood. And then you control it all with a ding, like one of these freaking RGB controllers.
My room's almost always
son.
like this purpley lavender color.
Love it.
Because it's just such a calming color.
It is. And that's where, well, right now we have rotating colors, but yeah.
Yeah, this is just because it looks cool on video.
Well, if you notice, we always shake up the variety here too. It's never the same color because we can never agree on one color.
Yeah,
and that's
except for when
okay
we do
with
our pod hacker stuff, then I just make it all red.
bright red, blow it up. All right, so let's wrap this up.
This is probably one of our longer outros, but I think it was a good discussion.
26 minutes in. Yeah, it felt great. IdentityShiftBook.com, code word HAF. It gets released on August 24th.
We did take flow notes on this one.
Flow notes, yeah, we didn't call that out. Over at flowchartgroup.com is where you get those notes for free. And you plug in your email address too, because that's how you get the notes when you were asked.
It'll make sense. It'll be when you go to flowchartgroup.com, don't be surprised. It's going to ask you to join a Facebook group. That's how you get the notes. So go do that, flowchartgroup.com, and then easy webinar.
EasyWebinar.com/hustle. So that's a fatty discount for a really good piece of software that's been around for a long time now.
Yeah.
Nearly 10 years-ish. I don't know. I was working with the guy a long time ago. I know we've known Casey, the founder, for years and years. But Easy Webinar is the software, webinar-focused software.
Yeah, it's kind of
helps you sell
kind of
more.
funny because it's like, here's the thing. The pitch is in the title. Look, it's...
I know. I'm like, I don't even know what to say anymore. I'm like,
and it just makes it easy to do webinars. So it's kind of like...
It's easy as hell.
If you've listened to a lot of podcasts, you hear like... We've talked about Easy Webinar in almost every episode because he's been graciously sponsoring this show for decades now.
I think he might like us. Does he have a man crush? I like it.
Maybe.
Cool. I like it.
So
I have a man crush.
easywebinar.com/hustle. He's giving you a discount if you go
Big
to that
discount.
link because you're a Hustle and Flowchart listener. So go to easywebinar.com/hustle.
Do it,
and
please.
check that out. It makes webinars easy.
Couple other things when you mentioned Pod Hacker. If you are, I mean, you heard Anthony Trucks talk about the way that he loves podcasting and how he uses it in his business. He has two. Dude's a smart cookie. There's a reason for it. Go to podhacker.com because that is the blueprint on how to think about content in your business. It's actually how we do our business, but that's where you're going to learn how to launch, scale, grow a community, make a ton of money. Well, at least a ton of different ways to make money. Can't
And learn from a
guarantee
ton
the
of
money.
experts. It's not just us.
Not just us. We give you our blueprint, but we give the blueprints of other people too. And it gave us a cool idea. We're like, you know what? We should go to our friends like Anthony and get like studio tours and some of their perspectives. So expect that because we're on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
So you can get the training. It's very inexpensive is what we're told. There's even a payment plan. Shh, don't tell anybody. But don't.
You just
Actually,
publicly said that.
Tell everybody.
Yeah.
And yourself.
Why are you trying to keep it quiet?
I don't know why. Podhacker.com. Go check it out and check us out on YouTube. Podhacker.
Yeah.
It's
we don't have a special pod hacker link yet.
You have
But
to
you can
use
go
your
to
fingers.
we have
to
hustleandflowchart.tv.
Yes, that would be the YouTube for Hustle and Flowchart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is a lot of links for people to remember.
I know. We should use QR codes.
Yeah, go get the we should use QR codes. Thanks for the idea, Sue. But yeah, go get the flow notes for this episode over at flowchartgroup.com because all of these links we're talking about will probably be in there.
Is that a thing? Like we can just like have cue cards of like what if we had print out like cardboard freaking QR codes for certain things like on our desk here and we just held it up for camera? Like
could do that, but
is
you know
that
it'd be a lot
gonna screw
easier.
the YouTube algorithm?
It's just overlaying them in post.
But I'm saying, yeah, but YouTube is funky with all these different links. And I mean, I'm not an expert on YouTube.
No, I'm just saying, like, in the video, like, if you want a QR code, can't you just have the QR code just like pop onto the screen, like that you edit it into post?
Editing. That's right.
Yeah.
There's editors.
Yeah, you could always edit a QR code in.
I think it'd be cool to have.
But holding it up would just look a little more fun. I just don't know if it would scan properly.
I don't know. But yeah, thank you, Sue. Great idea.
Yeah, you might see us mess with QR codes soon. All right, let's stop rambling because we got more podcasts to record today.
Oh my god. Yeah. All right. Cool. See you on the flip side.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Hustle and Flowchart podcast. Before taking the time to listen, we want to give you something a little bit special. Every single episode that we do, we actually have somebody on our team take notes. We basically have a Cliff's Notes version of every episode where you can go and find all of the tips and tactics that they laid out, all of the resources that they laid out, all the good stuff from this episode. We actually have a nice simple notes version that you can find on our website. So go to evergreenprofits.com, find this episode that you just listened to, and give us your email address and we'll send you the notes. Thanks for listening.